was shot just after 1 a.m. in an alley between the Club Copa and the Lawrence Visitor Center Park on Mill Street. The Essex DA's office says Concepcion was beating another man with a baseball bat and had been told several times to stop. Officer William Green is said to have fired 2 shots, striking Concepcion in the chest. Concepcion said to be in stable condition at Lawrence General Hospital. The victim is at Beth Israel with injuries to his head and torso. Officer Green is on paid administrative leave pending an investigation. In Lawrence, Lana Jones, WBZ News Radio 1030.
Joe Soy, William Green. Joe Soy, William. Joe Soy, William Green. Joe Soy, William Green. Joe Soy, William Green. I'm a police officer, and on early morning hours of December 3rd, I was working the club detail here at Attica, and I had a partner that night, and we worked together. I was involved in a shooting. I was working a paid detail, and at the end of the night, something was off. I just had this sense. I worked the detail regularly, and I just sensed that this night was different. Unseasonably warm, like 53 degrees. I know that it was 53 degrees that night, and we usually stay inside to help with the crowd control and clear out the club. And that night, I told my partners, let's go outside. So coming out these steps here, we came downstairs, we came outside, and we stood right here on the top of the steps at the entrance of the club. So when we came outside, there was a fight here, there was a fight right here, right in the middle of the street. There was one further down, and there was a 4th fight in the alley. Gridlocked vehicles, people in the street. It was absolute chaos. So while I was out here, we had 3 different fights that I could see. And I was evaluating the level of violence, the threat level, how many people were involved, and who I was going to engage first, as I was calling for help. In the corner, by the wall back there, I spotted a guy that was running at a full sprint, diagonally across the lawn towards this direction. And his behavior was unusual and not what anyone else in the street, even those that were engaged fighting, were doing. He was running at a full sprint and appeared to be locked in on a target. But not only that, he was carrying a bat. And so he was running with determination and was armed with a weapon. So that immediately caught my attention, and I directed all my energy towards him. So as soon as he hit the lawn, I started to come down the steps. And I had my pepper spray and I had my flashlight out. As soon as I hit the bottom of the steps, I started to walk over here. Actually, I was running over here. I didn't just walk because I wanted to intercept him before he could get into the alley. So I began to run along the sidewalk and probably got right to here to where the entrance of the alley was. And at that time, he was crossing the street. So I stopped, and my angle was like this. And as he came across the street, I'm yelling at him. I still have my spray and my OC spray and my flashlight in my hand. I'm yelling at him. I don't want to get too close to engage him because I don't want him to turn the bat on me. So he ran past me. So as he ran past me, now I transitioned. He ran down a ways, probably where the light is shining, just past the rear bumper of that Honda Pilot. And I transitioned from the pepper spray that I had in my hand and put that away, and then drew my firearm. And the reason that I did that is because he disregarded my verbal commands, and I was yelling. Still have my pepper spray and my flashlight in my hand, so I transitioned. I put my pepper spray away as I'm walking, and then went for my firearm. So as I came, I still had my flashlight in my hand. I transitioned to the firearm, bring my firearm to the ready position, because I hadn't engaged him with the firearm yet. And then I stopped in the alley to observe him. He'd already engaged who I believe was his target, who ended up ultimately being the victim. And I was looking at him, continuing to yell as loud as I could, "Drop the bat! Drop the bat!" From the drop the bat, still with my firearm at the ready position. As I was behind him, I was directly behind him with my line of fire heading all the way down the alley. I continued to yell as loud as I could, "Drop the bat! Drop the bat!" I realized that he was ignoring me. He was so enraged and locked in, wasn't even responding. And I realized that, and that I may actually have to engage him with a firearm and use that level of force to stop the threat to the victim. So I moved because I was right behind him, and I wasn't going to shoot him in the back. I also wanted to give him another opportunity to respond to my verbal command. "Drop the bat! Drop the bat!" There were also 4 or 5 different females, maybe 3, 4, 5 different women that were walking towards the back of the alley. It wouldn't have given me a clear shot if I had missed on the first shot or any of the shots. I needed to change position, and I swung wide to the outside. This vehicle wasn't here, so I was forward a little bit, probably in the center of the vehicle. Probably the same distance from me to the door, the front door of that CRV, Honda CRV. So I was continuing to yell verbal commands. I had my firearm in the ready position, continued to disregard me. I knew that I was in his peripheral vision, and that's when he swung the bat full force, brought it up in a chopping motion from the rear, and just brought it down right on the forehead, right in the front of the face of the victim. And amazingly, the victim took the blow and just sort of shook it off. But I knew that that was lethal force. I knew that if he were to be struck again, there was a potential for him just to kill him. I had my firearm at the ready position when the suspect put his bat again behind his shoulder to swing again. As soon as he was in mid-swing, that's when the first round fired, and it was right here. I didn't really aim. I knew I needed to pull the trigger. I didn't aim, I just brought it up, and the first shot went wide. And fortunately, I shifted my position sufficiently enough that it went into a parked vehicle and not into anyone else. The second shot, I was able to get a good sight picture. Did hit him, center mass. It hit his rib, bounced out. He dropped the bat immediately and fell to the ground. The victim continued to walk down the end of the alley, and my partner really gets credit for saving his life a second time. I shouted out to him, I said, "Hey, get that guy. That's the victim." He ran down the alley, grabbed him, only to find out that the victim had been stabbed 4 times. So not only did he get smashed in the head with a bat, but he'd been stabbed 4 times. When we grabbed him, he was transported to Lawrence General and then sent out to Boston, and his life was saved. The suspect, the guy that actually hit him with the bat, also lived, and he went to jail, and that's what happened. It's the spot where the suspect engaged the victim with the bat. This is where it happened. The victim, amazingly, made it to the end of the alley. Police officers grabbed him there, realized how he had been injured, wounded, and had him transported to the hospital from the end of the alley. So, Sergeant Benedetto, he was off duty and heard the call go out. A lot of us keep our radios on after we're off duty anyway. Heard the call come out and responded. It wasn't his responsibility. For whatever reason, he assumed command of the scene, and he's another one that was with me the entire time, and I wasn't even assigned to his shift. So at the time, he wasn't even my supervisor, but he responded, assumed command, and really, that's another huge thing. When you have supervisors and you have that support, there was no question. Make sure that the scene's secure and that his men were okay. And he came through in a way, and again, I can't express how significant that is and the impact that it has, not just on me, but all of the guys that responded that night. There were others that could have assumed that role, and perhaps it was their responsibility. But no one waited to figure it out. He stepped up, and he needs that type of recognition. At the time, I would have written him up for a commendation, so hopefully this is sufficient. I think the time is right to tell the story. I'm grieved. It's hard to watch just the breakdown of order in our country. Sometimes I wake up and I think this isn't the same country that I was raised in. And when I look at, for lack of a better word, a civil war in our country against law enforcement, it hurts. It hurts because I know that these guys, I work with them. I am one. And I know that their hearts, and there's always a bad apple, always, but that's everywhere you go. You go to McDonald's, you ever have your order messed up? It happens. But 99% of these guys put their lives on the line to really do a good work. And we only protect about 2% of the time. Shootings aren't as common as you might think. But we're out there risking our lives to serve, and really a lot of the things, most of the calls that we have are for service. So there has to be a rational voice in this chaos, in this media frenzy, so that the world knows, at least the country knows, that we are not what we're being portrayed as in the media. And I don't know a single cop, not a single cop, that walks out the front door when he's on his way to work thinking that he is going to shoot someone, wanting to shoot someone, or sees people as targets. We don't see people as targets. We don't. And that's why that's really why I wanted to tell the story. It's we have families. We deal with the worst when people are at their worst. No one looks for the cops when everything's great. Nobody looks for us because they're going through a good time. It's usually when they're in crisis. Crime has been committed, so they're already below what their baseline emotional status is. They're already upset or hurt, sad, whatever they're feeling, whatever negative feelings they have. So that's when they come to us. And so a lot of that transference of whatever they're feeling is onto us. We experience their stress, and we do it day in and day out, every day, and all day. And mistakes happen, and some of those mistakes have serious consequences. But let's have that rational reaction where we address the mistakes and the consequences and look for methods to prevent them from being repeated. But that's not what we're hearing today. That's not what we're hearing now. Lynch cops, kill cops. What do we want? Dead cops? I don't want anyone dead. I don't want anyone dead. So why do certain people think it's okay to wish death on cops or anyone else? And that's part of the reason too. It's let's celebrate life. Let's live for each other. I'm glad. You have no idea how happy I am and relieved that the suspect didn't die. Why? Because he has a second chance. No matter where he is right now, he has a second chance. One, to never make that mistake again, and to turn it around and to contribute to society. Yeah, even that guy has something to offer. I know some people are like, oh, well, he's a murderer. I don't know what he was thinking when he tried to kill the victim. I don't. But I know that he's had an opportunity to sit and think about the consequences of his actions for a long time. And who am I to say that he doesn't deserve a second chance? So that's really it. Rational voice. Let's stop the insanity. Cops aren't your enemies, and we don't see you as our enemies. Second chances. You never know what's going on in one incident. And people can change. So just because, a cop pulls the trigger and someone dies, we don't know what really happened there. We weren't there. And unless you're on scene, don't rush to judgment. The same way that I say that the suspect deserves a second chance, sometimes in some of those incidents, some of those cops might deserve a second chance. And that means giving them a second chance, even if they lose their badge. Because they're the ones that have to live with the consequences. You gotta know that we're just regular guys. There's no celebration after a shooting like this. There was no celebration. And that's why I wanted to tell my story. Joe Soy, William Green.